Hello, everyone. I am back for part 4 of my book club, Vex King, Good Vibes, Good Life. Now, for anyone, if this is the first time you're watching this, I'm doing a book club, Good Vibes, Good Life. And what I'm doing is I'm reading through this book and I'm making a few of my own comments as we go along. And I'm breaking it down into very bite-sized chunks. So you can either listen to just one at a time if you've just got a short amount of time, or you can listen to several at once if you want to get into the flow. So this is part 4 and we're starting on page 45. However, if you haven't listened to parts 1 to 3, the playlist is in the links below. You can start, this is one of those books where you can dip in and out exactly where you want, but you might find it quite useful to actually listen to the first few episodes first, just to get into the flow and get the context. Now, one of the reasons why I picked Vex King's book is because I love the writing style. It's really simply written, and I mean that as the highest compliment, because it's so easy to overcomplicate things this ways. But what Vex has got is he's got a lovely fluid writing style that means it's relevant to all ages. So I know teenagers who've really got so much out of this book. My age, above my age, there's really no limit. I really do feel there's something in there for all of us. And I just really love it. So I think it's very positive, got some really good real life examples. So I'm really enjoying reading it with you. So I've got my open fire in the background. I've got my herbal tea, my incense sticks. So let's get going. So we're starting this episode, part 4, on page 45. Sort out your nutrition and water. What you consume consumes you. What consumes you controls your life. I'm going to read that again because it's so important. There's so much in just that opening statement. What you consume consumes you. What consumes you controls your life. Everything you eat and drink is important, as it affects your vibration and reality. Think about it. How can you feel good if you don't ingest good foods and good fluids? The foods that leave us feeling sleepy and sluggish are those that vibrate to lower frequency. Hence, when we eat them, our vibration also changes. A lot of these foods are junk foods, and unfortunately, they're engineered to taste great. For this reason, some of us tend to overindulge in the bad stuff, and it doesn't just dampen our mood, but also adds on extra pounds and makes us vulnerable to illnesses. In 1949, a French electromagnetism expert called André Simonton published his research on the electromagnetic waves of particular foods. I love this stuff. He realized that each food not only has a particular amount of calories, chemical energy, but also an electromagnetic power that's vibrational. Simonton discovered that humans must maintain a vibration of 6,500 angstroms for them to be deemed healthy. An angstrom is a unit measuring 100 millionth of a centimetre and used to express the size of electromagnetic wavelengths. Simonton divided the foods into 4 categories according to a scale of 0 to 10,000 angstroms. The first category was full of high vibrational foods, including fresh fruits and raw vegetables, whole grains, olives, almonds, hazelnuts, sunflower seeds, soy, and coconut. The second category had a low vibration foods such as boiled vegetables, milk, butter, eggs, honey, cooked fish, peanut oil, sugar cane, and wine. And the third category consisted of foods with very low vibrations, among them cooked meats, sausages, coffee and tea, chocolate, jams, processed cheeses, and white bread. The fourth and final category exhibited practically no angstroms and included margarine, conserves, alcohol spirits, refined white sugar, and bleached flour. But eye-opening that, isn't it? You know, we talk a lot about raising our vibration, keeping our vibration high. On my channel, we talk so much about energy and its impact on all areas of our life. And that's pretty eye-opening when you feel that. It's a bit like if you've got a bowl of hot water and you pour cold water in, it's automatically going to lower the temperature. So if we're trying to keep our vibration high and resonating at a frequency that's going to help us achieve the things we want in our life, if we're constantly filling our physical vessel up with low vibrational foods and drinks, then we're making life really hard for ourselves. There are a few of my favorites on that list, but I try and balance them. So I've got my lovely organic herbal tea here today. Symington's research provides us with insight into which foods are good for our vibration and which ones we should avoid. In addition, as a general rule, good quality organic produce, as intended by nature, will keep you feeling more vitalized than non-organic foods. The price of organic food can be high, but the expense may turn out to be less of a sacrifice than your health if this deteriorates due to eating unhealthy foods. We should also consider the importance of water. It's estimated that around 60 to 70% of your whole body is composed of water, and it's essential to your body's functioning. It keeps you hydrated and flushes away unwanted toxins, and this will keep you at a higher vibrational state. If the water balance in your body falls below the necessary amount, your body will react adversely. You may be unable to focus, feel dizzy, and even become unconscious. Symington's research showed alcoholic spirits to be very low vibration, and regular consumption of excessive amounts can be very harmful and even cause death through liver damage. Too much alcohol also creates false perception, which may leave you to behave in a way you wouldn't normally. This can lead to bad choices that might be damaging to your life. Alcohol might provide a few moments of pleasure, but you must moderate how much of it you consume. Make fresh, filtered water your primary source of fluid. Now, anyone who watches my channel knows how passionate I am about all these things. Absolutely not, because we can't all live a moderate life. You know, I absolutely love structured water. I love things like the Asea. I love my supplements that can help take some of these nasties out. So there's loads of sort of biohacks that we can do to deal with the modern stresses, but also, let's be honest, the modern temptations of life. So if you're interested in that, scroll back or do a search on structured water on my channel. Have a look at some of the Asea or the Roots playlist. Look at my interview that I've got with the lovely Jeffrey Bodady. It's just brilliant. And just really, let's try and educate ourselves. But please also have a look at the animals playlist, because let's not forget our beloved animals. They are completely dependent on us for what they eat. So it's really our responsibility to do our research and make sure that they're having high vibrational foods as well. Express gratitude. Before you complain about school, remember that some people can't even get an education. Before you complain about getting fat, remember that some people don't even have any food. Before you complain about your job, remember that some people don't even have any money. Before you complain about cleaning the house, remember that some people don't even have any shelter. Before you complain about washing the dishes, remember that some people don't even have any water. Before you complain about all these things on social media using your smartphone without any consideration of how blessed you are, just be thankful for a minute. I know I'm interrupting a lot today, but over in the UK here today, it's really cold. We've gone from lots of wet weather to lots of really cold weather. And I have been in gratitude all day because I've been feeding the birds outside, obviously feeding all of my animals, trying to feed some of the wild animals as well, because all the water's frozen. So it's really difficult for them to get water. It's really cold. So they're having to work really hard to keep themselves warm. A lot of, you know, the ground's really frozen. So those animals that burrow, that could be a challenge. Even the birds trying to get water, trying to get worms and things and insects, everything's a challenge. So as a human, how lucky am I? I've got my blanket, I've got my fire, I've got my warm cup of tea. I am so grateful. I really am. Being thankful is one of the simplest and yet most powerful habits you can cultivate. By counting your blessings daily, you can begin to condition your mind to look for the good in everything around you. Soon enough, you'll unconsciously begin to see the bright side of things and feel better about life. You can't feel bad while still feeling thankful. As simple as showing gratitude sounds, most people struggle with it. It's much easier to focus on burdens than on gifts, to devote your attention to the things you don't have rather than the things you do have. I was once studying some of the most successful individuals on this planet, and one phrase really struck with me. Greatness starts with being grateful. I didn't think too much of it at the time, but as I've grown older, I've begun to understand its value. I've realized that you can't feel joy without being thankful. Being thankful is a vital component of happiness. Furthermore, expressing gratitude, we not only transform our vibrational state to become more magnetic to the good things, but we also become able to put things into perspective. We go through each day constantly comparing ourselves to others, and most of us rarely acknowledge what we have, what others may desire. We also tend to compare ourselves to those we consider more fortunate than us, rather than those who are less fortunate. Just think of the amount of people who've had to live through war on a daily basis. But we're completely safe from such troubles and many more that we hear about in the news. It's easy to say thanks without really meaning it. The key to showing gratitude is to feel thankful. I'll use my coaching client, Will, as an example to illustrate how you can reach a true state of gratitude. After Will had started reeling off a list of all his problems, I asked him to tell me what he was grateful for. His response was that he couldn't think of anything. I knew his car meant a lot to him, so I asked, "How about your car?" He replied, "Yeah, I'm thankful for my car, I guess." This level of gratitude is a nice start, but it doesn't really change our state. Then I asked Will, what would it mean if he didn't have his car? He sat there for a moment and thought about it, and then he began to list these things. I wouldn't be able to go to work, pick up the groceries, go and see my friends, and I wouldn't be able to pick up my kids from school. I could see his state changing as he started naming these things and envisioning them in his mind. I then went a step further and asked, what would it mean if you weren't able to pick up your kids? He replied, well, they'd have to walk back home or take the bus. I pressed, and how would that walk back be for them? Suddenly, he imagined them walking back in the cold weather. Will knew they'd be unsafe, and he was visibly unsettled. After a few moments, he thought back to when he was a kid and how he used to get bullied on the bus home. This was when it hit him. He took a heavy breath. I could see the relief on his face as he thought back to his car. He finally admitted how grateful he was that he not only had a car, but also that it helped him improve the lives of those he loved. His state completely transformed, and I observed the shift in his body language. When practicing gratitude, imagine how different your life would be without that particular thing you're showing thanks for. It will produce strong feelings and emotions, and this is how you get into a powerful state of gratitude. Remember, there might be many things in your world that are going wrong, yet there are also many things that are going right. The more you count your blessings, the more blessings you'll have to count. Here's a short story. During my time working in an office, I had a manager who I didn't see eye to eye with, and we both made work difficult for each other. However, as he had more authority, he always had the upper hand. For months, I let his actions affect my mood and therefore how I acted. I reacted with resentment. I gossiped about him. I hated going into work, and I continued to admit all these negative thoughts and feelings out into the universe. And as a result, things got worse, much worse. I wanted to distance myself from him, but he sat right by me, so I couldn't. Even when I did manage to get away from him, he'd find a way to provoke me. Back then, I wasn't afraid to vocalize how I felt, even if it was going to sound sour. I had no problem telling him he had no leadership qualities, which obviously didn't make things any better. After viewing some online videos from a spiritual teacher, Esther Hicks, I realized that I was utilizing my energy in the wrong way. I was aware the problem was there, but I was feeding the problem rather than focusing on a solution. Once I started to do that, things started to get better. I made a conscious effort to show gratitude for having a job that paid well. I knew how difficult it was just to find a job, but especially one with a generous salary. My salary enabled me to enjoy many comforts in life. I regularly reminded myself of these things to ensure I was in a state of appreciation, a high vibrational state. A few months later, my manager was promoted to another team. I also got a pay rise whilst experiencing much more freedom at work. This period was among my favourite in this job. Simply because I decided to feel good, I was given rewards that made me feel even better. To many of us, direct our energy towards our fears. I'm not saying your problems don't exist, but try instead to focus your energy on solutions to those problems. The universe is abundant in all areas. The illusion of fear is the only limitation we have. I'd love to hear your comments below, what experience you've got for that. If you've had particular situations where you've managed to change around like that, I certainly have. Study your emotions. Ignoring negative emotions is like keeping poison in your system. Learn to understand everything you feel. The aim isn't to force positive thoughts, but to transform the negative ones into something healthier so you can feel better. Our dominant thoughts significantly influence our emotions. They're crucial to how we feel. The issue many of us have when we try to become positive thinkers is that we ignore the transformation process. We assume that it's better to wipe out negative thoughts, numb our feelings, and to move to more positive ideas. This is often ineffective because you're just trying to trick yourself into thinking things are okay when your true feelings suggest otherwise. Repressed feelings can become toxic with your system and can eventually cause damage. If a venomous thought sits deep within your mind, it will reappear when you experience a similar situation in the future. Not only will this lower your vibration, but the continuity of this pattern can also damage your mental health and in turn your physical health. You may also become extremely toxic for others to be around, making you lonely and further adding to your misery. So don't suppress your negative emotions. Instead, transform them so you can raise your vibration, not just for now, but for all similar events in the future. Understanding your emotions will allow you to transform them from a low vibration to a high vibration over and over again. This is why introspection is so important to personal development. For example, a client of mine called Sarah had started talking to a new love interest. A few days into messaging and calling each other, he went quiet. She waited by her phone, expecting him to text her back, but he didn't. As a result, the dominant thought in her head said, "No one's interested in me or has time for me because I'm ugly." This made her feel sad. Sarah needed to turn her negative emotions back into positive ones, so we followed my step-to-step method for achieving this. How to transform negative emotions. Number 1, identify. To change your emotional state, you must identify what emotion you're feeling. In Sarah's example, she felt sad and afraid. After delving deeper, we identified that Sarah also felt neglected and insecure. Number 2, challenge. The next step would be to question yourself. Why do you feel the way you do? What thoughts are responsible for this? Sarah felt sad because she didn't get a text back. The thought that played back to her was that no one had time for her or wasn't interested in her because she was ugly. This made her feel lonely and insecure. At this stage, you have consciously begun to observe your thoughts. A lot of the beliefs we have are based on exaggeration, misconception, and opinions imposed on us by other people. Therefore, we can challenge these erroneous ideas and judgments in our mind. We can analyze our thought process and change our negative thought patterns to more positive ones in a logical way. Begin to challenge the beliefs behind your thoughts by questioning the validity. For example, Sarah asked herself, "Is it true that no one has time for me because I'm ugly?" In thinking deeply about this question, Sarah began to learn a lot about why she felt the way she did. At this stage, you can ask the questions that force you to dig deeper. You can also ask extreme questions because they'll inspire extreme answers. In our example, Sarah went on to ask herself, "Does this mean I'll never be happy?" Sarah pondered on these questions and saw she was exaggerating the situation. One man failing to text her back didn't mean she'd never be happy. She was reminded that her joy wasn't dependent on how others interacted with her. Let's have a little herbal tea. Posing these questions to yourself can reveal limitations in your thinking, as they did for Sarah. You'll begin to realize that you've made false assumptions and focused on negative aspects of your situations in your life. Try it. Perhaps bring up a past experience that made you feel unhappy and ask yourself direct questions that help you get to the heart of the matter. It's important to realize that we create our own sadness by attaching negative conclusions to these past experiences in our subconscious mind. Here we must challenge these conclusions, which are stored as lessons. Failing to correct the negative lessons means they're replayed in your subconscious mind. Over time, these lessons on repeat can weigh you down and induce depression. Number 3, understand. This step is all about appreciating the deeper meaning behind the emotion. In our example, Sarah found that she was feeling insecure as a result of her recent experience. She started to worry that she wasn't good enough. During the days when her love interest was texting back, she felt better about herself. It was clear that she had a high need for social acceptance and approval. You must recognize the deeper meaning behind your feelings and make use of them as opportunities grow. Sarah determined her worth based on what others thought because she had low self-esteem. She needed to be valued and accepted to feel better about herself. Number 4, replace. These disempowering thoughts must then be replaced with empowering ones. You must ask yourself, how can I view or do things differently to help myself feel better and live a greater life? It's essential to transform destructive thoughts into ones that make you feel better in the moment. Sarah reminded herself that she was worthy of love, regardless of how others might behave towards her. She said, "I love myself, and that is enough. The love I give myself will be given back to me by someone who truly cares about me." To add substance to these empowering thoughts, think back to times when you truly felt the way you want to feel. Sarah came up with a memory in which she felt worthy, confident, and loved. She held this scene in her head and relived the moment. This technique not only boosts confidence, but it may also bring forth a solution. You may remember something you did during a similar situation in the past that helped you to manage it. Number 5, visualize. Visualize yourself handling the emotion you're currently feeling in the future. As you do this, not only will your vibration increase, but you'll also begin to create an autonomous association with that emotion that will enable you to that will enable your brain to handle it for you effortlessly down the line. I made a mess of that sentence, so I'm going to read it again for you. Visualize. Visualize yourself handling the emotion you're currently feeling in the future. As you do this, not only will your vibration increase, but you'll also begin to create an autonomous association with that emotion that will enable your brain to handle it for you effortlessly down the line. You can do this over and over again. each time stretching your imagination and making it more real in your mind's eye. Repetition is the key to mastery. If you rehearse over and over again a situation in which you deal with the emotion, you'll know exactly how to manage it next time it comes up in your life. Right, we've got to the end of page 62. A lot in that, isn't there? A lot, but I think for me, he's hit on some really key points. And the thing is awareness is absolutely key. When we're aware and realize and analyze what we're feeling, we can look into the why behind it and decide whether it's appropriate to try and switch that emotion. But I love what Vex says about repetition is key, because it really is. Whenever we're trying to change any aspects of our life, it does take time, and being kind on ourselves and not always expecting instant results and working out by trying different things what serves us and what doesn't is so, so important. So I hope you enjoyed that little installment. We will be back for the next one next week. Please, please do let me know in the comments below. Are you finding this helpful? Is it resonating with you? Have you got some examples that you can share with others? Because it's so powerful when other people see what you're doing. You know, if you feel ready to share something with someone else in the comments below, please do, because we've all got little tips that we can lead that can really help others. And if you like this, or you like any of the other content on this channel, I would be extremely grateful if you could hit that like button and share it with a friend that might want to hear it. This is really important to beat the algorithms on this platform. I do cover a lot of health and wellness information, which isn't particularly well accepted due to some of the new policies. So hitting that subscribe and the like really helps others find the information. Thank you, and see you next week.